Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Let's give a warm welcome to our main speaker, Jodie. Hi, I'm Jodie and I'm an alcoholic. Hi everyone, it's great to be here. Thank you, Jeff, for asking me to speak. When he asked me, I said, I spoke here a year ago, and he said it had been a year and a half, so I'll just apologize in advance for any of you who have heard me. My story is still kind of the same. I love it here. I love it here. I walked in tonight and my 5-year-old Jack was going to come with me, and at the last minute he got a bigger, better deal offer, and his little 5-year-old girlfriend Madeline said, "No, come and play at my house." "Okay, bye mommy." You know, and he just blows me off. So I'm walking in here. I hate this place. I hate these people. My son blew me off, you know, and that didn't last long though. I was completely transformed by hearing Greg. I love you. I love your message. It was so great, and you were so funny, and I never knew. Greg and I worked together at this crazy company for about 9 months when I was doing one of those stints of like out there like trying to have sort of a real job, and it was really great to hear you. You were just absolutely wicked awesome, as my 5-year-old would say. I am here because in 1984, my sister's ex-boyfriend broke into her apartment in Dallas, Texas, and shot and killed her. And she was 21 years old at the time. Her name was Jill, and my mother had taken her to her first AA meeting when she was 16 years old. And, you know, this is many years ago. And they told my mom, she's too young to be an alcoholic. My father just celebrated 30 years clean and sober on January 2nd. You know, my family is riddled with alcoholism. Sucks. You know, it's like, I mean, I have people in my life today that are like normal, healthy, non-alcoholic people, and I look at them, I'm like, God, that is so weird. You know, they're like happy and healthy. They have healthy intimacy skills, and like always have. Like they grew up in sort of healthy households where people talked about things. And my one friend told me, this blew my mind. She said, you know, she's 47 years old. She's older than me. And she said, you know, my mom never yelled at me. And I was like, that is so weird. There aren't a lot of people out there like that, frankly. I don't know. There aren't probably any of them in this room, but it is warmer up here. You're right. I was freezing my ass off out there. You know, anybody who's here tonight is like me, and you probably have questions. And whether you're one day clean and sober, whether you live in LA, whether you're visiting from somewhere else, whether you're, and happy birthday to all the birthday people, and whether you're 21 years clean and sober or 50 years clean and sober, maybe there are some of those out there. You know, if we're alive and we're on this planet, chances are pretty good, you know, we have some questions. Like, what does it all mean? What's it? And I love what you shared. That was fucking brilliant about, starting out the night, and you don't really want to know where it's going to end. That's part of the whole mystery and the allure of the whole thing. But I have this girlfriend, and she's going through a divorce, which I just went through, and this is not AA approved literature that I'm about to read, so I really thrive on being rebellious. So for those of you who want to cop a resentment at me, go ahead, just don't drink and use. It's this great quote. It says, "I beg you to have patience with everything unresolved in your heart, and try to love the questions themselves as if they are locked rooms or books written in a very foreign language. Don't search for the answers which could not be given now, because you would not be able to live them." And the point is, we live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps then, one day, far in the future, you will gradually, without ever noticing it, live your way into the answer. I love that. And that sums it up for me, what it's like being a sober alcoholic for 16 years. I like being here. I like being anywhere, but I like being here. I like being in my own body. I like being fully present. I never knew what that was. I like looking around and being able to look into anyone's eyes and staying with the intimate, sometimes excruciating moment of that, That's where all the good stuff is. That's where every second of joy is. It's right there, and it's, and I can do it from right up here, and I can look into anyone's eyes and know things about you, And I never wanted to do that. Another brilliant thing Greg said, talking about being 21. Who cares about knowing yourself at 21? I was just like, please get me out of myself. The same thing about turning 30. I never thought I would live to see 30. But also, I thought that, my dad was 32, I guess, when he got clean and sober. And so I thought, I get to drink and use and do whatever it is I'm going to do till I'm 32, because he did. But my whole thing with my sister sort of sped up the process for me a little bit. I got clean and sober when I was 10, but that doesn't really, I'm trying to trick you all with the math of that, but that doesn't really work. Because you're all sitting out there, how old is she? I'm 43. So get that out of the way. And I grew up in Texas, and it's like we're not a kind of state that flies under the radar at all. It's like everything is big there. Everything is, and the bigger the better. And I subscribe to that theory wholeheartedly. And it was the same with drinking, and it was the same with doing drugs, and and really it's kind of the same with doing my life now. I am not one of those people, and I hear them sometimes in AA, and God bless them. And listen, if you're here and you're sober, do whatever it takes to keep you sober. And I'm not saying I have the answers. And another thing, anything that I say up here is my opinion only, and that's it. And I think Rick said something about that, and happy birthday, It's just my opinion, and we're all full of those, but among other things. But I didn't come here to do what, this may sound again rebellious, to live your life or to do what you think that I should be doing. And luckily, I've had the same sponsor for 16 years, Diane B., and she maybe, I don't know if she's just brilliant or shrewd or what the deal is, but she never ever has told me what to do in 16 years. She's never said to me, you go out and do this. What she has said to me, and this is what has worked for me, is I don't have the answers for you. You do, and you will know. And if you don't know today, you will know. And your answers are coming, and God is in the midst. And those very loving things, those messages that she's given me over the years has kept me sober. Had she told me, okay, you need to go out and get this job and do that and marry that man and da-da-da-da-da, I would be drunk. I would. And I think my journey here, and I didn't mean it to be this, and I didn't know it was going to be this, was one of freedom, you know, and that's what all this is. Freedom from bondage, freedom from the, you know, rats scurrying around in my head, freedom from low self-esteem, freedom from lack of self-respect, freedom from like some perceived reputation, freedom from, you know, having to know. That's a huge one for me, you know, because I came in here and I had to know. And I couldn't let you know that I didn't know. And that was a horrible bondage. And now I can just not know, just don't know. Because I've been told, and I've been around here long enough to know that if I don't know today, chances are at some point I will know. That has been my experience. Just to share a little bit about where I came from. I started drinking when I was 15 years old in Big Lake, Texas, in my cousin Britt's cousin's trailer home. And it was cherry vodka, and I was 15 and my sister was 13, and you know, it was really fun. It was really fun. And I grew up in Dallas, and you know, this was just like all so like romantic in some way. And then the next time I drank, I was 16, and I went on a hayride with Jimmy Kuklinski while secretly yearning for his big brother Mike. And Mike was a senior, and Jimmy was only a sophomore like me, and Mike came to pick us up after the hayride, and I promptly barfed all over the back of his Trans Am, the back seat, and my coat, and my date, and Mike, and you know, I knew I made a big impression. And I went home, and my little sister, my parents were out, and she had to clean me up and put me to bed. And that's pretty much how I drank. I threw up, you know, I got arrested the first time when I was only 19. I hate to top your story, but I was much younger than you. And the second time when I was 20, and the third time when I was 25. And when I got arrested the third time in Aspen, Colorado, it's hard to get arrested in Aspen, Colorado for drunk driving. I mean, it's really, you have to really be drunk because they don't want to offend anybody, you know, because they're not sure who you might be. So, and in fact, they took me down and booked me and did all that, and then drove me home. Said, we'll just leave your car where it is and you can come pick it up tomorrow. They were very nice. But, you know, I'm an alcoholic. I mean, I lived alcoholically. I was one of those types of girls, too, who, because of the fact that my father was an alcoholic, and he literally was sort of missing in action from 4 to 14 in my life, because he was working on the Alaskan pipeline, and he was in Long Beach getting arrested, and he was in Arkansas getting arrested, and he was in Louisiana getting arrested, and getting in fights, and breaking into someone's home for attempted rape, and blah, blah, blah. I shouldn't tell this story, but I like to. And he's not here. He's in Big Lake, Texas. He'll never know. So he had these, you know, he has really outrageous stories, though. They're pretty good. But I went to my first AA meeting when I was 14 with him, and I was severely grossed out. I was so grossed out because there my sister, and it was like in a church or something, and my sister and I are sitting in the audience, and my dad goes up there, and he starts talking about these things that he's done, and I was just like, how could he tell? How could he? What a horrible, horrible man. How shameful. I hope he dies. You know? And I would tell my mom, and I was really prim. You know, it's like, so he was over here, so I was going to be the polar opposite, right? So I'm going to be Miss Goody Two-Shoes, and I would say to my mom, when I grow up, I'm never going to smoke, drink, do drugs, or have sex before I get married. You know? And I still don't smoke cigarettes. I've told that joke before, but anyway, it's sort of, you got to try. So I was on that path of like thinking, if I can just do sort of like everything perfectly, and I was like a straight A student, and you know, it all went horribly wrong when I slept with my high school English teacher, and I don't know, it was just downhill after that. But I went to Texas Tech in Lubbock, Texas. The only thing to do in Lubbock, Texas is drink. There is nothing else to do. You know, it's land of mighty windstorms and lots of, you know, drinking and all that goes with that. And that's what I did for 5 years. I was shooting for 7 years, but my dad finally said to me, graduate or that's it. So I had to actually go ahead and graduate. I got a degree in political science. I moved to Washington, D.C. I went to work on Capitol Hill for the Committee on Narcotics Abuse and Control. Little did they know. So we would have these reports that would come in from like Bolivia, you know, on the manufacturing of cocaine and everything. And I would call, and we had like back in the olden days, you know, you would have like a Watts line. So I would call my friends still at Tech and like, you know, do you know what I have in front of me? We could make a lot of money, you know. And I never did it. I never stole anything from the U.S. government about manufacturing drugs. I was doing a lot of them though while I was working there. And I pretty much went through DC in about 3 years. I just used everything and everybody as quickly as I could. And I thought, you know, I was a little wild for DC. It was a fairly conservative place for any of you who know. There's a lot of heavy drinking that goes on in that town. But what changed the whole thing, you know, that's kind of what it was like, and just for a little flavor. And what happened was, just for the record, I would go out and I would drink and do drugs and then promptly forget my name, who I was, where I was, who I was with, where my car was, where I lived. It was horrible. I mean, I would have total blackouts, you know. And it's amazing that I survived all that because I did that so many times. And on Thanksgiving, 1984 at 2 a.m., I got a phone call, and my mom called and said, your sister's been shot, you know, and I had to translate because I knew what she meant to say was your sister's been killed, but she couldn't bring herself to say the words, you know. And I had been to Dallas a couple of months before that for the Republican National Convention when Ronald Reagan was reelected, and had been with my sister, and we had been partying heavily and doing cocaine and fighting, and she called me the C word, you know, and we promptly dissolved into laughter. And I mean, that's just what we just had, like a crazy alcoholic relationship. So you know, when I got on that plane from DC to Dallas to go to her funeral, I had this sort of litany, this like a chant going on in my head, and I at the time didn't even really know what it meant, but I was one of those kids that always prayed my whole life to please God strike me as the only child. You know, I mean, I was jealous of my sister. I hated her, blah, blah, blah. Sibling rivalry. She was younger, cuter, everything better, you know, and all of a sudden I'm the only child. And I'm like, I fucking hate this. This is so, so, so horrible. Please cancel. I mean, and I was just on that plane, gotta stay alive, gotta stay alive, gotta stay alive. Because I thought if anything happened to me, you know, my mom would not survive it, you know. And I was just thinking about her, and I thought, how do you survive? And as a parent today, how do you survive that? And I walked out of that plane and I saw my mother's face and I thought, that's it. And she had aged 20 years, you know, and I thought, it's over. It is so over. And I was 24 years old, and it took me 3 more years. And I knew it was over then, and I knew my drinking was over, and I could not stop drinking. And I drank over her death, and I drank over my life, you know. And God bless her, because, I mean, she was my Eskimo. And her death served a purpose. I mean, I know that's so weird. That's so weird to say, and I can say that with 18 years since she died, you know. But her death served a purpose. And I don't know what God's plan is, you know. I am so deeply honored and grateful to be sober, because there are so few of us that get to stay here. And I don't know what that is, you know. I don't know. I do not have the answer for that. I mean, it's got to be God's grace. It's got to be just a profound willingness. For me, what it has taken, you know, once I got here, I moved to LA, and I just partied like hell for the first year I was here. I mean, anyone go to Helena's? Yay! We'll talk after the meeting. It was just the most fun place. You know, I just had the best time there, and that's at the bottom of my drinking. And, you know, but I knew what happened with me, the final was I had a date with this guy. Of course, it always comes down to the guy's fault anyway, doesn't it? And you know, I was crazy about this guy and had liked him since I met him when I first moved to LA, and he was engaged to somebody else, and the engagement was broken, and so we're going out on this date on a Sunday night, and it's Friday night, and I've just got hammered beyond all recognition, you know, and all day Saturday, I'm hungover. I'm so hammered from Friday night, I'm still drunk on Sunday morning when I wake up, you know, and I'm just laying on my couch in Woodland Hills, and I'm just going, please God, don't let me drink tonight. Please God, don't let me sleep with him. You know, and it was just like a thing, like a mantra, Texan mantra, that, you know, was going through my head, and I thought, how am I going to do this? How do I get ready for a date and not have a scotch and water, you know, and smoke a joint and do a line and whatever the hell else, you know? But I did it, and it's sort of shaking, you know, and I was dressed in all red for some reason. He comes to get me, and he's like, oh yeah, we're going to go for sushi. I'm like, all right, that's it, it's over. I have all my answers. I'm sunk, Saki and Sapporo. I have to do it. I can't not do it. And I'm gonna sleep with them. I saw the whole thing. It all played out. There it is. I'm dead. I'm dead. Because I'm gonna sleep with him and sleep with someone else. I'm gonna die of AIDS. By the way, at the time, my cousin, who saved my life because I had OD'd on Quaaludes and Mandrex and was face down in trash can punch at Texas Tech, this same cousin, Jesse, was dying of AIDS in Texas in 1987. That was hard. That was just really, really, really hard. His family's like, it's a horse virus. It's this, it's that. A lot of denial there. So, you know, I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna die of AIDS, like my cousin. And that finally, and you know, of course I drank, slept, blah, blah, blah. Wake up the next morning, I'm like, okay, that's it, I'm done. I'm gonna die. And you know, talking about outside help, I had been to therapy, you know? And what was so scary about that is my mom said to me, gosh, you're in such bad shape. Maybe you should see a therapist. We're Texans. We don't go to therapy. No one in our family had ever in the history of our family, you know, been to therapy. And it was so frightening because she was so devastated that she would say that to me, that she thought I was like in such worse shape than her, that I was like, okay. And I went, and this woman, you know, takes one look at me and didn't mention a thing about drinking. It's men and money and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, you know, you're an alcoholic and you need to go to AA meetings or I can't help you. And I'm like, okay, bye-bye, you know. And then so this morning, this like epiphany type morning, I wake up and I thought, well, maybe I'll go see that woman. What was her name? Darlene. I'll go see her again because I'll try anything because I really don't want to die of AIDS. I mean, I had been to see my cousin. He was 65 pounds. You know, I thought I really, really, really don't want that for myself. I really don't want to be murdered like my sister, you know. And so I went to see her, and I'm like, okay, I'll you know, is there anything else other than AA? Is there just like something, you know, can you think of any ideas other than AA? Because I really don't think, I've been to an AA meeting once when I was 14 with my dad. I really don't think I can do that. She's like, sure, there's adult children of alcoholics. I'm like, woo! You know, okay, I'll go to that. So I go to ACA. It just about nearly killed me. I cried. Everyone in the room cried. And we all cried and cried. And we cried after the meeting was over. And I went back to therapy. I'm like, okay, I'll go to AA. I mean, please don't make me go back there again. One of the first meetings I ever went to, was at the Nest in the Valley, if any of you know. And I was really prim and proper in my little business suit, and I don't know what you know. And I thought, oh, I don't fit in here at all. You know, and I sat there and I listened. I'm like, oh, by the end of it, oh, I fit in. You know, this is great. And then I went to this meeting at the motion picture old actors' home where they go to die up in Woodland Hills. And there was this great meeting. It was a great meeting in this library, and it was very like cozy, and I met my sponsor there when I was 30 days clean and sober. You know, and I heard a great thing. I swear this one thing that I heard has kept me sober 16 years. And someone told, and I never hear it anymore, except I just heard it just the other day for the first time like in years. And I sort of made this vow, okay, say that a lot in meetings because it's such a good thing. When you go to any AA meeting, and please, if you're new, listen to this. This is so good. It really, really works. Hang on to the similarities and let go of the differences. And that really works. And I've never, ever in all my life been to an AA meeting where I could not do that, where I didn't hear something similar to my story, my feelings, something that was going on with me that day, something that had happened last year. And that has been my experience. So, you know, please, if you're here tonight, hang on to any similarities. You know, and my prayer always when I ever speak at any meeting, and Carrie, it's so good to have you back. I'm so glad you're here. It was great talking to you at the break, is if I can say one thing to anybody that is slightly soothing and might get you slightly like happy to be here or maybe excited to come back tomorrow, then I've done my job, you know, and that is my prayer. And I believe that is the energy that Greg talked about, and that was what a beautiful thing, and the way that we are all woven together in here, you know, and I believe that is God working through me, and that's been my experience. The coolest thing happened the other day at a women's meeting, and I go to almost all women's meetings today because that's where I can be like the most open and share what's really going on with me and everything and get really down and dirty with it. But you know, this girl walked up to me, and she's 4 years sober, and she's like, do you remember me? You bought me a big book at da-da-da and la-la-la. And I'm like, I have no idea who she is, right? And she proceeded to stand up there, and she sponsors 10 women, and she, you know, thanked me for that and everything. I don't remember her. I don't remember her. And if you're here, you know, you just don't know how you're going to touch somebody's life and maybe save their life. Let's get dramatic. I've got that good old Southern Baptist in me, you know, and it's like, and that's what I came in here. I want to say this too, and Carrie and I were talking about this at the break. I came in here with a punishing Southern Baptist, you're going to burn in hell, hellfire and damnation. God, I don't have that. I don't have that. Hallelujah. I have. It's been my experience, and I learned this in here because a woman shared about it at a women's meeting, that as you come in here and you grow and you change, that your perception of God will grow and change. And that has been my experience, because if I still had that same God, I would be drunk by now. You know, so my experience is that my higher power has changed and, wow, gotten really fabulous and loving and kind and generous and wants the best for me and all of those people in my life. And I mean, it's quite a remarkable thing. How long am I done? What I got? How long? Oh, okay. And I'm, you know, one of those weird people that I could just stand up here and talk all night, you know. Everyone just stay in your seats after the meeting ends. I mean, I really like this. This is fun for me, you know. It's really fun for me. But another couple of crucial things that I just wanted to talk about too is that I wouldn't be able to stay here if I felt like I still needed to be a certain way for you, like people pleasing, you know. If I still needed to tell you what you needed to hear, if I still needed to lie, okay, I do lie sometimes, I will admit that. But I mean, I'm really aware of it. And one important distinction that I've learned is I try not to lie to myself. Every once in a while, I will catch myself exaggerating, that's what I like to call it, you know, with somebody. So it's definitely not about perfection or anything like that. But really what it is, and it's what you talked about, Greg, is this thing of being interested enough in myself and in you to stay here and really be here and see what that is. What is that? I mean, why am I here? Because it just seems to me like so much of my life was spent and so much of my drinking was spent. Don't be yawning, by the way, when I'm keep coming back. I'm sorry. I was just, I couldn't resist. I mean, it was spent about who do you want me to be? Can I figure that out without letting you know that that's what I'm trying to do? And can I be that? And can I be that for you? And I don't, and my God, as a parent, I sure don't want to teach my son that. I definitely do not want to model that kind of behavior for him. And the way that I have learned, my path has been to, I love my sponsor. She's still in my life today. I went through this divorce. Oh my God, okay, here's another miracle I'll just share about. I really did not like my ex-husband. And I met him in these rooms. I met him at the Thursday night Brentwood meeting. And I had been doing this very like sort of spiritual meditation thing at night when I went to bed for like 3 months. Okay, God, show me your plan for me. I'm not getting anything. Be more direct. No, really show me something, because really, give me a visual here, And I got this image of this man. This is really personal to share from him here. But anyway, so I got this vision of this man. I thought, maybe it's like a car commercial, but I saw this person and blah, blah, blah. So a couple months later, I'm sitting at the Thursday night Brentwood meeting. I look across this crowded room. I'm like going, he looks familiar. And I'm thanking the speaker, and so I'm now trying to get information on this man. And I'm like, standing in line. Who's that guy? He's married. He lives in Malibu. I'm going, I leave the meeting. I drive to have dinner with 5 girlfriends, and it dawns on me in my car driving over there, that's the guy. That's the guy from my meditation. That's him. Okay, yeah, he's married. That's a bit of a problem. There seem to be a few obstacles into bringing this into, its full realization here. I'm not going to worry about it because God's in charge, And but I left that meeting and I thought, I'm going to marry him and have his baby, and I did. Talk about some self-will. And we were together for 10 years. And I grew to hate his guts. I mean, for those of you who are divorced, you understand, it's not even really that cynical of a thing to say. Some of you know him. The good news is that I am crazy. I love him today. We've been divorced, it was 1 year yesterday, and we have this 5-year-old who I absolutely prayed into my life. This exact son, talk about a miracle of sobriety. This exact spirit, I prayed him right into my life. And I learned how to do that in women's meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, I couldn't do that if I was drinking. There was no consciousness there. There was blotting of consciousness. Let's blot as much as we can. When my husband, let me tell his story now. When he started drinking and using, I did just about everything except go to Al-Anon, and then I finally asked for a divorce. And he was pretty sick of me too, I might add. And what I became willing to do is, I talked very candidly with my sponsor about how this marriage was, being married to someone who was smoking pot and drinking and doing cocaine was just about to absolutely kill me. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna either have to kill myself, wait, I got a 3-year-old, or I'm gonna have to use, can't do that. And she's like, why not try a meeting, Why not go back as a newcomer? And this was the most remarkable thing I have ever heard. I learned from her and other women in AA that you can start over at 14 years, clean and sober, without ever having had a drink or a drug or anything, and you can go and be a newcomer again at a meeting. And you can raise your hand and you can say, I'm really fucked up. I've been sober a long time. This is what's going on in my life, and I'm going to just treat myself like a newcomer, and I need all the help I can get, and blah, blah, blah. And that's what I did. Because my sponsor told me something that freaked the socks off of me. She said, you are losing your sparkle. I'm like, I can't lose my sparkle. No! Not my sparkle. I gotta have that. Or what is the point? And she didn't realize that she said like the exact intuitive, deep, soulful thing that was gonna like drive a stake through my heart and make me become willing to do absolutely anything to get my sparkle back. So that's what I did. I think it worked. It did. It worked. I got a divorce. The sparkle came back. But, and I didn't have to drink and use. And let me tell you, I howled on the floor in agony over this divorce. When my son, my 3-year-old son, for the first time went and stayed with my husband and I was home alone, I absolutely thought, I will die from the pain of this. This pain will kill me. It will get me and it will throttle me and I will just die right here on the floor, you know? And, you know, you can survive anything in sobriety. That is, if nothing else, I've learned that. And the bottom line is, and this is what I'm going to close with, is that I learned from going through that divorce how to really care about, some would call that love, really care about another human being, independent of myself, independent of what it means to me, independent of whether I think what they're doing is right or not. I learned how to care about someone so much that I became as committed as they were to their freedom and to their path and to not knowing the answers for them. And that, I tell you what, with this ego and everything else, that is a miracle, you know, and I have AA to thank for that. And my God, you know, it's so good here. Please, please stay. It's really fun. Thanks for letting me share.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. And let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think. Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.